Hi, my name is Tyler Mowry, and welcome to the Writer's Mind Podcast, episode 14. All right, hello once again, Patreon members. Welcome to another episode. So today, in episode 13, I talked about the idea of what creates a successful person, mentally and in a person's mindset. What is giving them the necessary kind of growing ground to have the potential for real success? And in that we talked about the idea they have this superiority complex, they have this insecurity about their own work, and they have impulse control. And today what I want to talk about is how success is defined. How do you define success? How do we define success on a societal level? And talk about that. Because in the other episode, I talked about the mindset necessary to be successful, but that's different than actually having a correct view or thinking about what does a successful person look like? And on the individual level, how do you know when you are a successful person? And so this is something that I've thought a lot about, right? Especially if you asked me 5 years ago and you said, Tyler, how will you know when you really made it? I would have said when I won an Oscar, it very much like this sort of tangible, concrete thing out in the distance, this goal to hit that would confirm that I, did the thing and I became successful. And what's interesting is over time, a few things have happened. One, my sort of faith in the Oscars' ability to, correctly hand out Oscars to movies that were actually high art has fallen. But another element is just simply the idea of this question of, should success be based around something that someone else is giving you in a particular moment, right? This idea that the thing that will tell you that you've made it is getting an award that somebody made up. This is a bad view on success, I think. And so I've begun to switch that, and I've begun to think about what state of being do I want to be in, and that state of being being a successful way to live, doing tasks that I think are meaningful and valuable, at a high level. So I've kind of shifted my view on this, and what I have kind of settled on now is career-wise and story-wise, I want to be in a position where I have control over the I would like to be running a production company. I'd like to have control over the finances of creating films, and I'd like to be writing my own stories, and I would like to help other screenwriters make their scripts as good as possible, and then fund those and be involved in the creative producing of those films, so that I can help someone else achieve their artistic vision and achieve the thing that they are trying to say through their story. And so for me, how I'm defining success career-wise for myself now is being able to impact a large amount of people through the stories that I write and that other people write, and doing that by having control over the financial end-to-end of that system. Not having to fight other producers or other companies and play politics about how a film is going to get made. I would like to have as much control over that as possible, because I know that I am somebody who actually, truly, genuinely loves storytelling and loves filmmaking, and I know that there's a lot of people financing films that are not of that idea. And I also have a belief that you can both make fantastic, compelling films and also make money with them. They don't have to be disassociated. So in my career, that is my current goal. And so that is in one way a tangible goal where, when I have a, company, when I'm doing these things, then I will be able to say, okay, here's a tangible example of the fact that I am successful. But it is also a state of being where not only will I, get something for, it won't just be like a one-time thing and me walking across a stage and getting an Oscar, for example. It will be a state of being where I am continually working in this mode of being a successful person. And I think that for me is where I currently define my success. Now, what's interesting is there are different categories of you as a person, and there are different elements of success, within your being. So what I've just talked about is career success, right? This is the idea of having a mission, having a passion, and being successful in that mission and passion, both by impacting others and being financially successful. But there's also other elements of personal success. There is the element of relational success, right? Trying to build a family and build a community and build a relationship that is functional and is working. And it takes knowledge and effort and learning to an intentional focus to actually build that, right? And so that is another area of personal success that is not necessarily related to career or the mission. It's this relational element of success. It's trying to build a family, and what does being successful in building a family look like, right? Because there are right ways and wrong ways to do that. And so it is an element of life that requires intentionality. It requires you seeking out knowledge and wisdom to actually become successful in that thing. Another area, which is something that I am currently trying to do, is being successful in my own health. So this is both in what I eat, which I need to continue to work on, and in exercising and continuing to become stronger and become more physically fit so that I can, because there is success there as well. There is success in health. And just like career, the goal is to be in a state of being of success. You can also look in relationships, and you can also look in health, and you can say, these things are a state of being as much as they are a goal in the distance to achieve. And I think that having a balance of that, having an understanding of it's not just you arrive, but it is something that you are consistently doing. It is a state of being. That I think is really helpful, because it means that you're not going to get somewhere and then just sort of give up and have nothing left to do, right? If the entire reason you're doing writing as a career is to win an Oscar, what happens when you win an Oscar? Is the point, are you done? Like, do you just go home and watch TV and die? Or is it like, I'm just going to get a second Oscar, and that's going to be my reason to live, right? That seems like a pretty hollow reason to live. And so it has to be looked at differently. It has to be built on this idea of success being a state of being. And I think that's important. So what's interesting is, success does not necessarily have to be extremely lofty. So there's this idea of culturally defined success and personally defined success. And I thought about this a lot, because there's a lot of elements of culturally defined success that are valuable, right? If you win competitions, or you win awards, or you build the company, or you sell the screenplay, right? These are elements of cultural success. And so I think that they're valuable, but there are successful people all over the place that never really get any sort of cultural accolades, in the sense of they don't really get a lot of recognition, but they are successful because they are living in a successful way. They have decided what they want, they have gotten that, and they are living in that state. And so by their personal definition of success, they are successful. And so I think that sometimes there can be a battle between culturally defined success and your view on personal success. And sometimes people try to push themselves to be more ambitious than they actually are, because they believe that their success is completely culturally defined and they have no say in what success looks like for them, if that makes sense. And so people try to climb economic ladders, and they try to move up in their corporation, or they try to do these different things that they don't actually want, but they believe that to satisfy their community's wishes or their parents' wishes or the wishes of their culture, they must do something, right? A lot of people become doctors, and the trope is a lot of people becoming doctors and lawyers because their parents or their community wanted them to do that, and that is the view of success in their own community, but that's not something that they particularly wanted. And ideally, I mean, it's great if your view on success aligns with a cultural view on success, but you really do have to define that for yourself. And a lot of artists and writers especially were specifically not liked by the culture that they were in, right? But those writers and thinkers and artists were trying to do the work of, saying something to other people, and that was their view on success. So philosophers and writers and artists and these different people, they had opposition, and some of them went their entire lives being hated by the people that were around them, but they had to pursue their own thing, and they had to give that to other people. And so they were operating off of a view of personally defined success. Or not all of them, right? Because some artists were just sort of doing things and hoping for the best. But I think what that is it's this unconscious following of how you feel you should live, right? So you're not necessarily being aware of, let me write down how to personally define success. That's not necessarily what people are doing. They are, or great artists did in the past. I don't think Van Gogh was doing that, but because a lot of people didn't like him, and he was kind of this odd guy, in his community. But what he was doing was he was living according to how he felt he should, and he was trying to give his view on life to other people, and trying to give his style and give his way of looking at things to other people. And that was his personally defined success. And so I really think that success, ultimately, a lot of it comes down to understanding what you want and not compromising on what you truly want. Not wishing you would have gotten more, or not limiting yourself, because some people redefine success because they aren't strong enough to get what they actually want, or they aren't ambitious enough or passionate enough to do what they really want to do. And I think that is not success. That is failure. If you are redefining your own success because you're too weak to get the success you actually wanted, you're not succeeding. You are failing. You are just content in your failure. And those are two different things. And I think it's important to make that distinction, because there's a lot of people walking around here that redefined success as, being something mediocre that they never wanted to be. And I really think that success is getting what you want, defining what you want, defining how you want your life to look, doing the work to become a critical thinker. Do what you can to shed bad thought processes, poor information, and all of these different things that have been placed upon you by other people and your culture, and deciding what standard you will live at and what state of being success is for you, and then going towards that. And so, I really think that is what I think is good is I think there's a deep optimism in that, because I think there's a world where everybody can be successful in that way, right? Where they personally define what they want, and then they go after that and they live in that state of being. Now, obviously, in a real world, that doesn't happen, but I think it's important for the definition of success to be a universal concept, to be able to, if you define success as winning an Oscar, then suddenly only a few hundred people in human existence at this time could ever be truly successful, right? So that shows that is not a real view of success. It's not a real version of success, because success on some level must be universal. And so, success, I think, is really about not limiting yourself and about going after what you want. And because I think there is really an element of discontentment that's necessary for true success. If you're totally content with your life, if you're truly and genuinely content with your life, then you are probably living in a state of personal success. But that is not where most people are. Most people live in a state of discontentment about so many things in their life, but then they tell themselves to be content, right? They try to force contentment on themselves. And I don't understand that kind of struggle, because trying to force contentment on yourself is this mental struggle that really just kind of leaves you running in circles. Whereas I think it's a lot more productive to set the goal. What is your defined state of being? What is your defined state of success? Going after that, and if you get there and you realize it's not what you want, then you can adjust and you can begin to redefine what is contentment and what is success for yourself. But that process is important. That process of action into the world, feedback from there, and you trying to decide how life should be lived and what success is for you based upon that feedback and based upon your continued action. And this is why just thinking all the time, doing nothing but thinking, being an overthinker, or, not ever taking action but just meditating and these sorts of things, I don't see these as real ways to get to your state of success. They are ways to, calm a stressed mind. They are ways to help you be at peace at certain points, but they will not I don't think they take away ambition. They don't take away the realization deep down inside of you that you could do more, you could be more, you could achieve more, and you could actually live in a way that you can be proud of. It doesn't take that away. And I think that there is it is definitely important to not, there's a lot of talk about self-love in culture today. And I think that what I have found is that it's so much more about self-challenge to me, that understanding that I can do and building skill and building knowledge and building things and creating the world that I want to live in for myself, like these things bring me joy and happiness and satisfaction and all these sorts of things. And so it's not that I just sat around loving myself. It's that I realized that I realized that I knew what I wanted to be in these different areas of my life and what success for me looked like in these different areas of my life. And so I am in process on all of these things and trying to get to a state where I can, really be proud of what I've built. And that grows over time, which is good. There's certain things that I'm proud of that I've built, and there's certain things that I think need a lot of work. And, that's part of the process. And I think there is no stasis in being a person. Therefore, there is no stasis in success. And there also really isn't any stasis in contentment, excuse me. And so because of that, we are constantly in motion, and we need to be thinking about processes and states of being more than hitting a particular goal or getting a particular award. That's even as I have been continuing to finish up reading The Way of the Superior Man that I read some excerpts on a couple podcasts ago. That book is all about a state of being of success. And it's mainly talking about a state of being in success in regards to relationships. But that state of being also applies to career and health and your physical health and your mental health and these sorts of things. And that is the constant push and pull between process thinking and goal-oriented thinking, where it's like we need both, but we exist in a flow. We don't exist in a moment in time. We exist as beings moving through time. We are constantly changing and evolving and growing, and our emotional states are changing and all these different things. And pointing that change in the direction that you want to go, that is really, I think, what success becomes. It's about figuring out and pointing yourself in a direction and staying within that process. And that is what that state of being is. So, yeah, I hope this was helpful. Please talk to me in the Discord. I'm really interested to see what you have to say. And I will see you all next week.